Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I'm just sitting here drinking some iced coffee. I just filmed a video for my Peter Monn channel, and I'm getting ready to do the TikTok water challenge. And I thought I would just sit down and talk to you guys for a little bit today. No meditation books, none of that. I just wanted to have a conversation with you guys. First of all, I just want to say how much I appreciate you guys watching this channel. I don't think it's any mystery to anybody that I don't get tons and tons of views on this channel, you know. I think I get like anywhere from like 400 to a lot is 1,000, you know, on this channel. And I have no intention of going anywhere and giving up this channel. I've had so many people through the years recommend to me. They're like, you know, if you gave up your BookTube channel and you gave up your and I'm talking about YouTubers have said this to me. If you gave up your BookTube channel and you gave up your Peterisms channel, you'd have more time to like do fancy editing and, you know, whatever. And I'm like, but those are the channels that are like my saving grace, even if I don't post on them every day. Like, those are like my safe escapism places for me, where I can come over here and I can read some Melody Beatty meditations or talk to you guys about recovery or things I've learned in my life or whatever, you know? And I love this channel so much. And I don't really care if it, I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love if it got 1 million views a video and it was reaching that many people. But it doesn't bother me that there's only, you know, 400 people that are reaching it. And honestly, to me, 400 people sitting down and listening to what I have to say about my life is a lot, you know, like it really is. And so I've never, like, the numbers have never really affected me over here. What does affect me over here is the comments that I get from people and the emails. And I have to tell you, it's so crazy. And I don't often say this or talk about this, but more than my vlog, more than my Peter Monn channel, more than any of my other channels, this is the channel that when people email me or people direct message me and they'll say like, your videos really help me, it is this channel that they reference, which is so crazy to me. When people come up to me in public and they introduce themselves to me, which happens rarely, it hardly ever happens, they'll say, oh my God, I love your Peterisms channel. Like, I watch it every single day. So I feel like I probably met, I don't know, half the people that watch this channel, because like that's about as many people as I've watched. They always say that, you know? And that just means so much to me, you know? People will say like, oh, I'm like in early sobriety and your Peterisms videos, even if they don't have to do with recovery, are really, really helping me have a different mindset. Or people will say like, I didn't get to go to a meeting today and I watched a couple of your videos about recovery and they really helped. Or, you know, people will say, I save your videos for the morning and I watch you read the meditations and it's a really good way for me to start my day. And I love that. Like, I think that's so cool, you know? And what I would say to you is, you know, you don't have to watch my videos for that. Like, go out and find some, you know, affirmation books, positive affirmation books, meditation books. If you're in recovery, I will tell you that Hazelden Treatment Program has a whole bookstore where they have tons and tons of meditation and affirmation books. You can get online and you can, on Google, and just, I have an Amazon link underneath there where if you buy from there, I make a little bit of coin. I think it's like 3% or something, and it has like the Melody Beatty books linked, but you don't have to do that. You can find them probably at thrift stores, Goodwill, you know, half price books, Barnes and Noble, everywhere. You can find them online. Just put in Melody Beatty, or you can put in positive affirmations or meditation books. You know, if you're looking for more, you know, Christian-based ones, then you can find those. If you're looking for ones that are non-religious, you can find those that are just, you know, about happiness or positivity. You can find those. There's all different kinds, right? And I mean, I probably have, I don't even know. I should count someday how many I have, because my mom and I, when we got sober, well, she had like her daily devotionals from being, this is like going in a completely different direction, but anyway, my mom had her daily devotionals that she had from going to church, and that was like really important to her. She had the ones that she would buy that were like, you know, that were year round, but then she also had the ones that she would get at her church like every month, and she saved those. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but it's like a little, not a pamphlet, but kind of like, it looks like a little magazine that's like this big, and she would get it, and every day would have like a daily devotional in it. So she had those, but then she had a lot of recovery meditation books for like women in recovery, or just women in general, like positive affirmations for women, or, you know, whatever. And so she and I have some of the similar books, some of the same books, but then like she had probably 20, I probably had 30 or 40, and now I have hers and mine together. So I have like, I don't know, 50, 60 meditation books, and it's just, and some of them I love more than others, and I think you guys know the Melody Beatty ones are my favorites. But anyway, so, you know, like if that's something that you enjoy, start with just one and see what you think. I will say this, you know, every once in a while I'll go and I'll buy 3 or 4 and I'll get them home and I'm like, yeah, I don't love these. You know, like I bought the one that was called Something Stoic and I was so excited about it and I got it home and I read it on here a couple times and I was like, yeah, this is not for me, you know. So I typically give those books away. I don't even know if I did or not, if that one's still sitting in the bathroom. I keep them like up against the wall in the bathroom, like by the sink. The ones that I use every day. I think it's like in the very bottom. It's called like the Intellectual Stoic or something like that. I have it like, I think it's underneath or whatever. I should give that away. But anyway, if that's something that you love, you know, look for it online or, you know, go to your bookstore and just look in the self-help section and they'll have those. But that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I want to talk about coping mechanisms a little bit. I don't know if it's a comment or if it was an email or if it was a direct message or on Twitter or on Instagram. I went in, you guys, and I have tried so hard to try to find it and I cannot find it. And somebody reached out to me and they sent me a rather long message. I feel like it was on Twitter, but maybe they deleted it and I can't find it. I don't know. But somebody was asking me if I could do a video talking about coping mechanisms and that I talk a lot about coping mechanisms and what coping mechanisms I have and how do they help me and things like that. And I sat there and I thought about it and I thought, well, you know, I mean, I think everybody's coping mechanisms are kind of different, but I thought this would be an interesting video because I do talk a lot about coping mechanisms. I talk about, you know, having a toolbox of skills that I use to get through tough times in my life that are not just recovery related, but some of them are. And so I thought, you know, for people out there that are struggling, that are like, I am going through tough times in my life. And whenever I say that, you know, if I'm talking about things that are medically related, addiction related, or mental health related, please seek professional help if you haven't already. Like, you know, I'm just a YouTuber online talking about this stuff. So, but you know, when I think about the coping mechanisms that I have in my life and the things that help me get to a positive place on a daily basis, but also, I think, get me through the tough times, there's a couple things that I do. So I want to just share those with you. One of them is that, you know, I have a really strong support system in my life. I feel very, very blessed, but I've had to do some work at developing that, you know. I've had to do some work with weeding out the people that were negative and toxic in my life and allowing the people to remain that were loyal and were trustworthy and were good friends that I knew, you know, would be there for me and I could be there for them. And the people that challenge me and the people that tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. Those are the people that I want in my life today. I also want the people that I can laugh with and that I can have a good time with. That is really, really important. I don't want to get together with somebody and every single time I'm with them, it be a really deep conversation. You know, my friend Tanya and I, we laugh a lot. My friend Valerie and I, we laugh a lot. My friend, you know, Melissa and I, we laugh a lot. It's important to have laughter in your life. And I think laughter is a huge coping mechanism. It's a huge coping skill, right? And I'm trying today to talk about healthy coping skills because there's a lot of like unhealthy coping mechanisms that we use, you know, drinking, drugs, things like that, sex, shopping, you know, on and on and on. Those are all coping mechanisms, but maybe they're not healthy for us, you know, if they're in extremes. So I'm trying to talk about healthy ones today. I have to say, like, one of the things I have learned is if I want to have good friends in my life, I have to be a good friend. I have to be what I want to get, right? So if I want somebody that's loyal and reliable and trustworthy and doesn't talk behind my back, I have to be that person to those people, right? And that's been a really strong learning experience for me in the last 10 years, is that I've had to be a role model or an example to myself of what I have wanted in my life. And that doesn't just extend as far as my support network of friends. That goes as far as being a husband too, you know? If I want my husband to be a certain way, then I have to be that way as well. Like I have to be what I want to get. And my dad actually said that to me years ago. And I remember that like with another boyfriend that I had. And he said, you know, you have to be what you want to get to some degree. And I really agree with that. And I really agree with that with friends, you know? You cannot be complaining about having friends that aren't loyal and trustworthy and all this kind of stuff if you're going behind their backs and you're talking about them. That's not going to happen, right? So that for me is the first thing because, and the other thing is this, is that, you know, when I was like, I heard this term, somebody was talking about trauma dumping. And, you know, I wouldn't say that I necessarily like call my friends and trauma dump on them, but I will say that I call my friends and I say, especially with my sponsor, you know, like that's kind of her role in my life, and with my therapist, which we'll get to in a second, but, you know, I'll call my, you know, friends or my sponsor and I'll say, can I vent to you for a second? And I always ask that because you never know where somebody is, what they're going through, and whatever. And some people will say to me, hey, listen, like right now it's not a great time, but can I call you back later? And I'm like, yeah, that's totally fine. Or I'll find somebody else and call them, right? with my sponsor, if I'm talking to her about certain things, and she'll say to me, like, we'll talk through it. Like yesterday, we had a fantastic conversation on the phone, and she's like, we need to get together. We need to inventory some of this kind of stuff. And, because I'm starting to feel like maybe I'm sitting on my front porch a little bit too much, and I'm starting to isolate a little bit, and that kind of worries me. I don't seem to have a problem with it, but people are starting to notice it and are saying things to me about it, like, are you isolating? Like, you're not really going out and doing a whole lot, except for like maybe once or twice a week. And so I talked to her about it, and she's like, yeah, I think we need to talk about that, like that's something like maybe you're feeling a little bit too safe and secure, like on your front porch, and like you need to be present in life, and I think you want to be present. I'm like, yeah, I do want to be present, right? And she said to me at the end of that, and I think that would also be something great for you to talk about with your therapist, because my sponsor is not my therapist, My sponsor is somebody that helps me work a 12-step program. She takes me through the journey of the steps. She's there to help me. She's there to guide me. She's there to be compassionate and kind to me. So she's another coping skill for me. She's another coping mechanism. And if you're in recovery, whether you're in Al-Anon or if you're in a 12-step program for addiction or whatever you're in, or adult children of alcoholics, please find a sponsor. Please find somebody to guide you through the steps and help you with that. I couldn't have done it without her and the other people that I've had in my life. But then that takes me to my therapist, Like, I go into my therapy sessions and I think to myself, I don't even have tons to talk about today. Like, I don't even really have a lot to talk to my therapist about. And then it's like 45 minutes into the session and I'm like, oh my God, like this has been such a great session. And I've talked, and I just kind of like go. And I never plan out like really typically. I mean, every once in a while I'll think like, okay, these are the things I want to talk about before I go into therapy, but very rarely. And that's been like such a huge coping mechanism for me. And like I said, with like not stopping this channel, my marriage right now is probably at the best point that our marriage has ever been in, and since we've been together in 15 years, our relationship is probably the best it's ever been in. And yet we continue to go to marriage counseling every other week. I am feeling right now, other than feeling like maybe I'm isolating a little bit, which I don't even know that I recognize because I'm just happy watching my TV shows on my front porch and talking to my neighbors. But other than that, it's like I feel really happy and content in my life, and yet I have no plan on quitting going to see or talking to my therapist. I actually do my individual sessions on Zoom, and going to marriage counseling, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, why would I stop doing something, and why would we stop doing something that is working so well for us, and it's really helping our marriage, and it's really helping our relationship, and it's really helping me, so why would I stop doing that? So that's the other thing. The other coping skills that I have, I think a huge one for me is gratitude lists, and whether those are oral that I just do out loud, and I do a lot of them standing outside in the dark with the stars, and I'll say I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. I say every night with my prayers and my meditations, I always say, well, I've started something new recently, where I say to my higher power that I'm grateful for my relationship with my higher power, and for, watching over me and protecting me and guiding me and, giving me good direction. And then I say that I'm grateful for my life, my health, and my sobriety. Those are the first three things that I'm grateful for. And then I say that I'm grateful for, my husband and my dog and our family and my home. And I go through like all of it. And I do like an oral gratitude list every night. I think it's also important for me when I'm starting to feel ungrateful and I'm starting to pity myself and feel sorry for myself, to do written gratitude lists. And typically when I do that, what I do is specifically for that day, I take a look at all the things that I'm really grateful for that day, right? Like the fact that, it could be anything from like, I'm fitting into a shirt I know this shirt's kind of low cut, but woo! I'm fitting into a shirt I haven't fit in 11 years. I've got nice iced coffee. I've got food to eat. I've got a nice meal in the refrigerator for dinner. I get to watch some shows tonight. I got good rest last night. It's like, those are the things I try to look at just for that day, I'm healthy. Alex is healthy. My friends are healthy. Boo Radley is healthy for today. It's beautiful weather outside. And that keeps me present in today of being happy, joyous, and free and grateful for the life that I've been given for that day. The other thing is, I talk a lot about in recovery, we do inventory. And in inventory, we take a look at our fears, our resentments, and our conduct. Well, in different order. We look at our resentments, our fears, and our conduct, right? And we, map that out. And like with our resentments, we look at 4 parts of that and all this kind of stuff. And with our fears, we look at how we're trying to manage that and all this kind of stuff. If you're not in recovery, journaling is a fantastic way. You don't have to do traditional inventory, like buy a 12-step program. You can just write about how you're feeling. You can just vent it in a book, You can tear out, I can't remember what it was called. Somebody will know what I'm talking about. It was called like the Miracle Pages or something like that. But it's Is it A Course in Miracles? Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I can't remember, but it was a book that I read like years and years and years ago. And it was like at the end of the, you journaled like 3 pages every single day. And then at the end of the day, you like threw away those pages of journaling. It was just, the whole idea of it was just to like purge your feelings and your emotions and get them out, which I think is huge. You know, it's a huge way to like cope and deal with things and just get stuff out. If you want to save it, you can save it. If you don't want to, you don't have to, you know? I also think other coping mechanisms for me, you know, are really learning to take care of myself, whether it's 5 minutes or 5 hours a day. And that can be watching a favorite TV show, you know, drinking a soda if I want a soda for the day, which I hadn't been for a long time. And now I'm drinking like a Diet Coke a day. You know, or just sitting on the front porch listening to some music and having a little bit of iced coffee, or taking a, like, you know, long hot shower, or taking a nap, or reading a book, or watching a movie, or whatever, you know, or going out and spending some time with your friends, or just even if it's on the way home from work, like listening to some of your favorite music, or a podcast, or an audiobook, or whatever, and giving yourself that time and allowing yourself that time. I think the other thing too is that one of the things I've had to really look at in the last 10 years is that I was a huge complainer. And the things that I would complain about, like having to go to family functions or spending time with my family, like those were big ones for me that I would always complain about. And I think it was almost kind of like, it wasn't even truly that I felt that way. It was kind of like everybody would complain about, oh, I have to go to my family's house for Thanksgiving, you know? And I'd be like, oh God, like I don't want to go to my family's house for Thanksgiving. I love going to my family's house for Thanksgiving. I miss it. My aunt and my uncle and my mom are not around anymore, you know? I'm so grateful that I have my husband's family to be part of. I'm so grateful that my cousin continues and my dad and my stepmom continue to include us in all of these things, right? And so things that I used to complain about 10 years ago have almost kind of switched into things that I'm grateful for today. I had to change my perspective about things, you know? I go outside and go, oh God, it's so hot. I don't do that anymore, you know? I mean, I might say it's hot, you know, or whatever. It's like really hot today. It's really muggy. But then I think to myself, okay, but it could be February and it could be a foot of snow outside. You know, so I try to flip that if I get into the complaining mode too much, which we do. We're human. We're going to do that, right? But I don't want to be constantly complaining. If you're around somebody that constantly complains, it is so draining. I can't stand it. Those are part of the people that I got rid of in my life. People that just constantly complain about the conditions of their lives, okay? Especially people that have been given so much, so freely, and have amazing lives, and yet all they do is complain about the misery of their life. I have no patience for it. I really don't. I'm sorry, you know? You have one life. Enjoy it to the fullest. Stop complaining. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's so many things that we have a true, genuine right to be upset about on this planet, whether that's trauma or loss or addiction or sickness or chronic illness and things like that. And a lot of those people that are going through that do not complain. Those to me are kind of like sometimes truly angels here on earth that are like, they don't complain, you know, and they like are so peaceful about it and whatever. If they did, I would understand it. I would be like, okay, well, that's something to complain about. Not the fact that, you know, like your plane is delayed or something like an hour. Like, okay, sure, we're all going to complain about, oh God, I can't believe the plane's delayed an hour, but that's nothing compared to chronic illness. Like, let's be for real. And yet I learned so much from those that are so, you know, unfortunate, that have such horrible things in their life. And I think that is, to me, also a coping mechanism, is learning from other people. How can I learn that grace from somebody, you know, that is so patient, that is so kind, and yet has so little, you know, that could be complaining left and right and have the right to do that? How dare I complain about stuff in my life? And I still do it. I still do it, but I catch myself quicker. So it's a coping skill for me, you know? And then, I mean, there's just tons. And I just try to look at all that stuff and put it all together, you know, and grab a little bit here and grab a little bit there and grab a little bit here. And I think there's this misconception that I wake up every single day and I just smile on my face, I'm perfectly happy, and that's not it. It really isn't, you know? It takes me a good 30 minutes to an hour to kind of get up and feel centered and feel part of this earth and feel okay, you know? And I ask myself that, are you ready to start your day? Like, I ask myself that question, you know? And then only then do I do that. Sometimes I'm like, no, I'm not ready to start my day yet, you know? But other days I'm like ready to start my day like right away. So it just kind of depends. And that's another coping mechanism for me, you know? is to treat myself kindly and with compassion. I think that's one of the things we don't do the most, is we don't treat ourselves with kindness and compassion. And I think the other thing I've learned too is we are kinder to strangers than we are to our own family and friends sometimes, and to ourselves. You know, if you've ever like been at the grocery store and you're like to the person next to you, you're like, hey, how are you doing? And to the cashier, you're like, oh, hey, how are you? And then you get home and you're nasty to your partner, and you're nasty to your kids, and you're nasty to yourself, and you're beating yourself up about whatever, right? But you've just been so nice to the people at the grocery store. So what that tells you is you have the capacity to do that. Well, shouldn't we be kindest to the people that we love? Shouldn't we be kindest to the people? I mean, we should be kind to everybody, right? But shouldn't we be kindest to the people around us, and especially ourselves? Because it all starts with us. It really does. You know, and the more gentle we treat ourselves, the more gentle we're going to treat the world. So anyway, I hope that helps you guys. Let me know what some of your coping mechanisms and coping skills are in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.